Hi there, welcome back to Have a Go Spaghettio. Have a Go Spaghettio is an early childhood approach to social, emotional, psychological, behavioural development in a positive direction. It's based on rational emotive behaviour therapy. Albert Ellis developed REBT in the 1950s, 60s, and what it does is it acquaints people with the reality or the idea that our emotions and behaviors are connected to our formulating or formulated belief constructions. And Ellis argued that our belief constructions, or what we believe, our personal philosophies, can either be in the main helpful, self-helpful, other helpful. He would say rational, and some belief constructions, or many, can be defined as irrational, unhelpful. So Have a Go Spaghettio is an attempt to bring these ideas into the early childhood learning and teaching context. And when I think about the construction of the self, what kind of self are the children formulating or developing? Are they self-helpful, rational, or what I call success helper ways of thinking? Or are they more irrational, brain bully ways of thinking? So when we talk about the self, we're talking about, I believe, what it is, who we believe we are, and then what we believe we are is a virtual representation of who we are. So often what we think, or what we do think about who we are, is a virtual construction of that. And we are constantly, or we can constantly learn to consider what we think, deconstruct what we believe are not healthy or helpful ways of thinking, and to reconstruct new ideas. Little children, when I'm talking about 7, 8-year-olds, 6-year-olds, can't do that. They don't think about their thinking at this point in time, but we can equip them with the ideas and the knowledge, the skills to use when they get to formal operations later on, where they can learn to think about their thinking. So, have a go Spaghettio. Alfred Korzybski of general semantics theory developed that, said the map is not the territory. What we think about the world is just a virtual representation of it, and it is not it itself. The word is not the thing, the word is not the person. In terms of the self, it doesn't make sense, Albert Ellis would say, and Alfred Korzybski and others would say, it doesn't make sense to abstract something from the many and then decide it defines us in a global sense. So if I think I'm smart, am I smart? Or have I done things that aren't so smart? So therefore, am I absolutely always my smartness? And that doesn't make sense. So when we talk about the Have a Go Spaghettio approach to social emotional well-being, we are helping children hopefully to develop habits of thinking that are more rational, more representative of the world, although it's not the world itself. So this quote I got from the internet about the map is not the territory theory. This famous dictum by Korzybski is a core principle. It highlights that an abstraction or representation, the map, like our perceptions or words, is not the thing itself, the territory or objective reality. I recall a quote by Albert Ellis. He said, you can act turdily, but you're not a turd. So your actions or what you do may be questionable, but that doesn't define you in a global sense. So we want kids to start to think about their thinking, and how do we do that in the early childhood context? Well, Have a Go Spaghettio is one way of doing it. So this is the Have a Go Spaghettio Success Helper chart. There are 6 competencies, behaviors, choices of action that help us achieve whatever it is we want to achieve, our goals. We want to be successful. That may mean different things to different people, but we want children to learn how to work with others, empathize, develop persistence, the ability to hang in there when the going gets tough, manage their frustration levels, develop internal obstacle control. We want them to be organized, set goals, and be prepared for whatever it is that they are doing. We want them to develop the ability to regulate how they feel. That's the purple success helper. Develop frustration tolerance. We want children to develop unconditional self-acceptance. Albert Ellis says it doesn't make sense to abstract something from the many and then decide that that defines us. So we want children to understand that what they do is not who they are, and what other people think about them is not them. The map is not the territory. So that's the Have a Go Spaghetti. If we can teach to that generally in a day-to-day sense, moment by moment, if you like, we can respond to children's behaviours. For instance, if a child hangs in there when the going gets tough, we can just say, that's a success helper choice. That's connected to I can type thinking. Well done. So we can address the behaviours, and in doing so, we're reinforcing the attitudes or the developing mindset behind that. So that's the Have a Go Spaghettio approach. So social, emotional, behavioural well-being, psychological well-being. It's positive psychology. It's developing that kind of flexible mindset. And as I say that, I'm reminded of a quote by Heraclitus, I think, who said that, you never step in the same river twice, because the river's not the same, and you're not the same. Everything's changing constantly. So we want children's virtual maps to be to be able to be flexible enough to change with the territory, and that hopefully will hold them in good stead as they journey. So this slide is considering general semantics theory and how it relates to ABC theory of emotional disturbance. Alfred Korzybski introduced the idea of a verbal pollution-free zone. Let's be aware of our language and why we're using it. And he came up with these 3 questions that he believes would kind of get people to focus in on a problem or whatever problem that they present with, and how they're best going to resolve that problem, bearing in mind that it's based on this idea that the map isn't the territory, that it doesn't make sense to take one thing from the many and then decide that that's who you are. So the one question is, what do you mean? When you say, and I'm referring to my experience as a counsellor in the school, where children have said, I really hate myself, I'm a bad person, and I make my parents angry. So they believe, or they're constructing an idea that they can be bad, and that because they make their parents angry. And of course, we want children to learn that they're responsible for their anger. Therefore, how can they be responsible for other people's anger? How do you know that you're bad, that you make other people, So where's the evidence? And what have you forgotten? When you say that you are bad because you've done something bad, what are you missing out on? What are you leaving out? Because there's lots of stuff that can contribute to yourself or who you are. So, like Ellis said, you're not a turd for acting turdily. So then we come to Ellis's ABC theory of emotional disturbance. We're looking at what happens. We're looking at the emotional and behavioural response to that. But what do you mean when you say at B that that you're bad, that you're naughty, that other people don't like you, that you're unlikable, things like that? And at the D part of the ABC model, we're disputing that. What have you left out, in other words, in terms of general semantics theory? So this is the dynamic of the ABC theory of emotional disturbance in the counselling context. If we can bring this into the classroom and teach these ideas, then we have a way of a whole school approach to helping children develop the kind of self that does not tend to equate their personhood with a particular action or a particular quality or a particular opinion of someone else. So, and Ellis himself, mentioned Korzybski in General Semantics Theory and said without him, it probably wouldn't have been able. It informs his ABC model. So I thought I'd just bring that up, and I think perhaps I certainly, as an educator, training in my early years, I would have benefited by understanding these ideas. So I believe it would be useful for educators to be aware of this, to think about it, and to look at ways of applying it in their practice. And of course, all of this is to help people, in my case, working with young children, to learn eventually how to dispute irrational thinking, recognize what it is they believe to be true, and questioning its veracity, disputing its veracity. And eventually they'll reconstruct new ways of looking at things, or thinking about things, and they have a new brain friend success helper set of beliefs, new philosophy, new outlook. So I recommend that if you're an educator watching this, or a counsellor, student counsellor, or that it'd be worth considering this and to apply it in your practice. This is the Go Spaghettio song, of course, spoken about it many times. So it just sets the day up, reminds the children that what's ahead of us is an opportunity to have fun, to learn, and also to manage disappointment and things that may not go right for us. But also, always in terms of feedback to behaviour, is to convey the message that what you do is not you, and what other people think about you is not you, and it can't be you. So if we can convey that message in lots of different ways in the classroom, I think we're doing a good thing for the kids, a positive thing. Have a go, Spaghettio. And lastly, as always, we finish off with a quote by the great man himself, Albert Ellis. And that's basically the theme of this. We want children to construct ideas that are healthy. We want them in the fullness of time, not when they're 7 or 6 year olds, but when they get to the stage of formal operations, when they can think about their thinking, metacognition. They will be able to identify what it is that they believe, and decide whether it's helpful or not. Look at the evidence that either refutes or reinforces those ideas, and to make sure they maintain a healthy way of looking at things. So, Ellis said, you have considerable power to construct self-helping thoughts, feelings and actions, as well as to construct self-defeating behaviours. You have the ability, if you use it, to choose healthy instead of unhealthy thinking, feeling and acting. So on that note, I'll leave you with some what do they call it? Food for thought. And if you have any ideas or feedback, it would be great to get some. But in the meantime, have a go, Spaghettio, and give it a try. Banana pie. All the best.